The population of the United States is continually changing in number, location, and composition. And the Bureau of the Census is faced with the task of finding out just exactly how many people there now are in the United States, where they live, how old they are, what their education is, whether or not they have jobs, and what kind of work they do.
Simply put, the census is a head count of every person living in the United States. To be sure the government represents the people, the U.S. Constitution requires a population count every 10 years. Ever since 1790, the census has determined the number of seats each state receives in the U.S. House of Representatives.
Where do we need new roads to make our lives easier? Where will new school programs help our children thrive? Where could a new health clinic benefit neighborhoods? The 2020 census will inform these decisions and shape how billions of dollars will be distributed to communities like yours each year.
Every person counts, no matter who you are or where you live. We all have a role in shaping the future of our country.
The U.S. Department of Commerce announced Monday that it plans to add back a question on citizenship status to the 2020 census.
What do you say? Why is this important to have that question on the census?
Justice Department feels they need it so that they can enforce Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, which protects minority voters.
And records show that the Commerce Department asked the Justice Department to give the Commerce Department justification for reinstating the question. The Department of Justice letter said that the data from the citizenship question is critical to its ability to prosecute cases under Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, which aims at stopping racial discrimination in voting practices by federal, state, and local governments. That is called vote dilution. Vote dilution cases are pretty rare. There haven't been any filed under the Trump administration, and there were only 2 filed under the Obama administration. So the DOJ's request has been met with all kinds of resistance.
I think it's going to frighten people, certain segments of the population. We're already dealing with a lack of trust in the government, and we're certainly dealing with an immigration crisis about how we're rounding people up and so forth. And I think the citizenship question will come across as a statement that some people belong here and others don't. But that's not what the Constitution says.
What progressives really care about is power. They hate the fact that you took some of their power by voting for Donald Trump, and they want it back by any means necessary. That's what this is about, obviously. What about male or female? Should it ask that? Should it be allowed? Is that unconstitutional too?
If there's a lack of representation in the census, then that lack of representation carries over not just in redistricting, not just in apportionment, but also for the next 10 years. So the risk is that you would have a large non-response for those populations and you would have a large undercount.
Es un movimiento extraordinario. And you know why? Because we know the government-owned analyses indicate that if the citizenship question is included, at least 6.5 million people won't respond to the census.
And, I think a lot of people believe that how much money a state gets based on the number of people should be related to those here legally, not illegally.
$15 to $20 billion, and you're not allowed to ask them, are you a citizen? Well, you need it for many reasons. Number one, you need it for Congress. You need it for Congress, for districting. You need it for appropriations. Where are the funds going? How many people are there? Are they citizens? Are they not citizens? You need it for many reasons.
Is it really about citizenship? No. It's about reducing the number of people of color in this country being counted in the census. That's exactly what it's about. This is because you don't want communities like mine being represented here in this chamber equally. This is about that. This is cheating, in many ways, an election. This is cheating by saying we don't want to count everybody. We want to count as less people as possible, and that impacts directly communities of color.
Hard drive showed the operative helped come up with a pretext for adding that citizenship question, and that he believed that drawing political maps that exclude non-citizens would, quote, would be advantage to Republicans and non-Hispanic whites.
2 weeks ago, the Supreme Court blocked the administration's effort to add the question, ruling the administration had not provided a sufficient justification for it. The government then began printing census forms without it.
Today, Donald Trump waved the white flag, acknowledging, in so many words, that he could not override a Supreme Court ruling barring his administration from adding a citizenship question to the census under a bogus pretext.
For the president, continuing the battle for a citizenship count is politically advantageous.
I think that the chaos is purposeful. I think that he wants to create fear.
Vanita Gupta is a former Obama Justice Department official who opposes adding the citizenship question.
There's no question that there has already been significant damage, even by the sheer specter of the question being on and all of the kind of ensuing noise from the Trump administration.
They knew that they were not going to be successful. They created an agenda of fear-mongering that is happening everywhere. And we have the numbers that is showing how immigrants, and especially Latino communities across the state and across the nation, they are afraid of answering. 50% of Pennsylvania's population growth in the past 20 years have accounted to Latinos. But when you look at the Lehigh Valley have been experiencing that population growth even higher.
It is on to get every person counted for the 2020 census.
Local officials admit the state fell short 10 years ago, and that came at a cost of billions of dollars in federal funding.
10 years ago, we missed 30% of the people in the county.
To ensure Lehigh County census history isn't repeated, County Executive Phillips Armstrong is leading the 2020 charge.
We don't want to leave any stone unturned.
And he says this includes outreach to all 25 county municipalities, working with Atlanta, area schools, and nonprofits, as well as establishing various information hubs, all to ensure everyone is counted.
We're also going to have people going out to the trailer parks, to the mobile home areas, the farmlands.
So we want to make sure they understand how safe it is. We want to make sure they understand how important it is, but we also want to make sure they understand the tangible things that the census affect in their day-to-day life. Everything from the roads that we drive on, to the schools that our children are in, to the clean water that we have.
Kevin Green is the Chief Operating Officer for Faces International. They work directly with municipalities, and they're helping in the marketing campaign to give people a better understanding of why your count matters.
Go census, okay? Everybody counts. And that's why we need to do this with energy, with enthusiasm, because we need people to realize how important this is.
Lehigh County Executive Phillips Armstrong said local leaders need to build trust with the community to get an accurate count for the county.
Very, very important for us all to get involved and make sure our voices are heard and we're represented properly, because the 10 years matters so much to us, especially our young adults.
Erin Yazinchak is the partnership specialist with the U.S. Census Bureau. She says the biggest hurdle is winning over those concerned about their privacy.
All answers are 100% confidential, and nothing will be reported to any agencies such as immigration, welfare, courts, or the police.
So just to be clear for those at home, if you are concerned about the census citizenship question, it is not on there. There were some reports that it might be, it might not be. It is not on there.
A deadly new virus has both health experts and investors worried as it starts to spread.
As you know, this is an evolving and complex situation. We need more information.
Tonight, combating a dangerous, mysterious virus now spreading across the globe.
Tonight, the CDC tells me we should expect more confirmed cases of coronavirus here in the United States in the coming days.
CBS News has learned President Trump's trade advisor, Peter Navarro, circulated dire memos within the White House in late January and February, warning a full-blown pandemic could claim up to 2 million American lives. At the time, the president was downplaying the virus.
Words about a pandemic at this point?
No, we're not at all, and we have it totally under control.
Well, we pretty much shut it down coming in from China.
Because of all we've done, the risk to the American people remains very low. It's going to be very well under control. Now, it may get bigger, it may get a little bigger, it may not get bigger at all. We'll see what happens.
It's going to disappear. One day it's like a miracle, it will disappear.
Now the Democrats are politicizing the coronavirus. And this is their new hoax.
If we can hold that down, as we're saying, to 100,000, it's a horrible number. We all together have done a very good job.
While the coronavirus pandemic is affecting many people, it's also affecting the census, according to community leaders. Programs like Head Start, SNAP, Medicare, and Medicaid rely heavily on census numbers for funding. But if people don't fill it out now, municipalities could have less funding in the future.
It's still here, and it's still important for us to make sure that we get our count.
The Census Bureau also opened several local offices back in January as a part of its community launch, but those offices have since closed. Green said they're also not sending any more people door to door to help keep the virus from spreading.
Now we're in a situation of focusing on how do we best educate people and reach people, and how do we utilize the internet to do so.
He said it's important to realize while we are in a crisis situation because of the coronavirus, we still need to think about the future of our local governments.
Lower response rates mean that the Census Bureau needs to send temporary workers to knock on doors and request responses in person. But the need to increase social distance will make it harder to send field workers out to track hard-to-reach populations and others who don't respond.
We know that these communities already are underrepresented. This could go a long way to further underrepresenting them if door knockers can't get to the doors to count all these people in those communities.
This coronavirus has complicated the execution of this census in a number of ways. And I think it's fairly certain that the census, the time period for the census, is going to have to be extended. And I think we need to get, and I hope the Census Bureau will get in front of that. Any community that's undercounted is going to be robbed of political power for the entire decade of the 20s.
The next 10 years matters, and the next 10 years is coming, and we are going to be here, and we need to make sure that our community has the resources it needs, all the financing and all the aid that it needs so it can continue to survive, but also continue to thrive.